You can't do paint correction level work when the customer is only paying for paint enhancement style services. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about a mistake detailers are making when it comes to polishing paint and how it's cutting into their profits, and they're just simply taking way too much time and energy to get the job done. And if you are having trouble getting customers in your business, or at least attracting the right kind of customers into your business, because there is a difference, click the link down below and watch my free training on how I turned my website into a customer generating machine. You'll see on how I went from a struggling detailer for many years to a fully booked out detailer, and how it was able to transform my business. So watch that full training, click the link down below, and let's get started with this video. So on this Tacoma, it's coming in for a paint enhancement. Now, every detailer is gonna have like their own terminology in terms of like what it means to them. So for us, a paint enhancement is our most entry level service for polishing. It's not gonna, so ours would be a paint enhancement, then a one-step polish, and then the two-step correction. Now on the paint enhancement, it's just like, it's not like we're gonna say, hey, you're gonna get, 30% removal. Although that might happen, the main goal is just to be able to remove some of those light defects from the paintwork, some of those light swirls, bring out that gloss, bring out some clarity, and then protect the paint. Now with this one, we're using an all-in-one polish, meaning it has some polishing abilities and it leaves a layer of protection behind. So it's a step above like a wash and seal, but it's a step below a one-step polish. It's right in the middle between, I want a bit more than just waxing the car, but then I don't want to spend more money on polishing the paint. So that's why that's our paint enhancement. Now with this one, a key thing is you're not going to be checking your light to see the difference between your before and after, because it's not that kind of service. You're not gonna get heavy defect removal, right? You're not gonna see big differences. Now again, depending on some vehicles, if they have softer clear coat, you could do an all-in-one or a one-step polish where you're like, oh my God, I'm removing 60-70% of the imperfections with a one-step. Well, yeah, because the car lends itself to that because it's a softer clear coat. Now with this service, it's primarily for like vehicles that they're not heavily swirled, right? Like they're not flawless in paintwork, but they're not super swirled. So like this one, I believe like a 23 or 24, the paintwork's not bad at all. It has a bit of PPF on it. There's swirls, but like it's not bad. It's not like it needs a heavy correction in order to like save the paint. It's not at that stage yet. Or two, maybe just the customer simply just doesn't have the budget. Like they know they want their car polished. It's not in their budget to pay that much on their vehicle at this moment. So that's also a good fitting for them. Now, if we have a vehicle, if someone comes to us that like has a like beat up paint, it's heavily swirled. Let's say the color is black, heavily swirled. Sometimes, right, a paint enhancement or a one-step polish can make a difference. But this is why, like for us, we always do, for the most part, we always do a test spot to show the customer the results that they're gonna get. So, again, there's times where if we do a one-step polish on a heavily swirled vehicle, we're removing 60, 70, 80% of the swirls, and we're like, oh man, like, we're taking out a lot of imperfections with just this one step, because the paint itself, it's softer, it's easy to work with, you can pull out those imperfections. Now, if a customer comes to us and we do a one-step polish or an all-in-one, and basically it's not a big difference, there's not a dramatic difference, well, we won't offer that service because the clear coat that they have is a lot harder, or maybe there's like a ton of water spots in there and you just really have to go after it. Well, then a one-step or a all-in-one, it's not gonna do anything, because you need to go with a more aggressive method, and the only other aggressive method you can go with is a two-step correction to actually really go out and dig out those imperfections. But where you have to be careful, and I did this early in my career, a lot of detailers go through this, where if you are offering some lower tiered polishing service, right, you need to be disciplined to not get in your head and say, oh, well, I'm only getting like 30% removal. If I just switch pad and go a little slower and just spend a bit more time, I can get like 60% removal. Because then again, like let's say you're one step, let's say a paint enhancement for Tacoma will be 300. And then a one step would be 650. And then for a two step correction would be 900, right? Well, now if you get in your head of like, well, I could just spend a bit more time and switch pad, and the results will be so much better. Well, of course, you can always do more to get better results. That will never change, okay? But if the customer's budget, right, because budget, or they simply don't care, right? Like they know their paint needs to be polished, but like they don't care that it's like swirl free or like going for perfection. You're just giving up your time, energy, and profits to do something that the customer didn't want to pay for or doesn't care about it that much. So when you're when you're doing the work, like you can't get in your head and be checking every single panel and be like, oh no, I still see a few more swirls, let me hit that again. That's not that kind of service. If you want to go and get 80, 90% removal in the paint work, guess what? You have to go and get customers that can afford that level of work, that care for that level of work, and have the budget to afford that level of work. You can't just give away your services because, oh, well, I'm a detailer and I don't want this car to leave my shop without it being perfect. That's great and all on the detailer side. You care about your work. You want to do the best work, but none of that matters. You can't do any of that if the customer isn't paying for that level of work. Now, there are times where we'll do extra work, right? Don't get me wrong. Like you can always do extra work, especially for customers that are deserving of it, right? Like you can go a few extra steps for them, right? You can polish out a few more areas or maybe spot correct some areas that have deeper scratches. That's fine and dandy. But you need to be disciplined and stick to your prices and to the timeline that's supposed to be on that vehicle, because then it's very unfair to all your other customers who are paying those premium prices to you just to give them away to someone else for what, right? Like if you have customers paying, like us, like when we're doing corrections and coatings, they're $1,100, $1,400, $1,800. And then if we get another car in here where, the customer is paying, $200, $300, $400 for whatever polishing service, but then we go and do $1,000 worth of work for that customer, well, then we kind of just undermined all the other customers who are able and willing and, are happy to pay those premium prices because they understand the quality that we deliver. So it's also very unfair to like your actual high paying customers. So if you want those jobs where you're going full out and you have the rotary or you're doing some heavy cutting and there's the before and afters are so amazing and so dramatic, well, you need to go attract those kind of customers where they're able to spend $800, $1,100, $1,400, because that's the level of time and effort that it takes to do those jobs right. But you can't just be giving away your services just because you as a detailer want to do something, right? Like as a detailer that runs a business, you have to do what the customer wants and can afford, right? If you're doing this as a hobby, you can detail for what you want to do based on what you like. But now doing this as a business and you're trying to make money, you have to do what the customer wants and what they can afford. And that's gonna wrap up this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, do you offer different types of polishing services? Is it 1? Is it 3? Leave a comment down below and I'll talk to you on the next one.